Hi everyone, we made it to the end of the week. Happy Friday. I wanted to just continue. I know I got interrupted at the end of the show yesterday. My baby, my youngest son, who's 14, is attending the Boy Scout National Jamboree in West Virginia. He left yesterday in the wee hours of the morning, and he did get to see my sister, my youngest sister, Danielle, who lives in the area. So when she called, I just had to take that call because I was so excited to hear about it. And then she teased me because I squeaked. um, it's just wonderful when things come together that way. Right now, he's visiting in Washington, D.C. They're going around to all of the monuments. They probably are headed back to the hotel. It's 7 o'clock there, so they probably are getting ready to head back to the hotel. And then they're going to be touring some other areas in upstate New York and Baltimore and Philadelphia, I think. They're spending a lot of time talking about the founding documents of our country, and I'm really, really excited about that. He's even bringing me back a copy of the Declaration of Independence. So, this is not showing where it's supposed to be showing. Y'all, I'm sorry. I am going to start this again. Okay. Sorry about that. We're back. I was publishing this to my personal page, and I actually wanted it on my business page because we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to go back to working from home, how to do that successfully. Like I said, I'm really excited about hearing from my son last night, and I apologize for interrupting the show, but you know, sometimes things are more important. Let me go ahead and get this shared to my personal page, though, so that my friends and family can see it. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it's been really quiet here lately. It's been kind of weird. I'm used to Jared playing video games upstairs, and he yells at the video games. And he gets going on his headphones with his friends, and they yell, and he yells, and for such a quiet young man, he can be really loud. But I'm really excited to hear all about his adventures. So I was talking yesterday about tips, tried and true tips for working it from home, and I don't even, the first few I'm not even sure that I agree with, but I do 100% agree with this one. Set up your workspace. If you have the room, put an office in your home where you can shut the door. What's really important here, and I think this is for any job, whether you work in an office or you work from home, is you need to set your workspace aside. You need to kind of mentally shut the door on work at the end of the day and be able to turn off that part of your brain and relax. I struggle with this because my business is me. I do all the work, I collect all the money, I take care of everything, and so I'm thinking about business all the time. But that's not really good for your mental health. It's important to know if you're in home mode or work mode. If you can set up a whole room for yourself, that's perfect. Do that. If you can't, then set up just a corner of the room. My setup is just in a corner of my dining room. This is all the room I have in this apartment, at least until my kids move out, and then I will take one of their bedrooms back. And but this is my workspace. My kids know when I'm sitting here in this chair, I'm at work, even though I'm here, but I'm at work. They know that. And the nice thing about that too is that then you can deduct the percentage of the square footage of your home that you use exclusively for work. So if you have an office, you can deduct the square footage of you know, if you use 10% of your home or 25% of your home for business, you can deduct 25% of your mortgage or rent and 25% of your utilities because that's a work expense. Isn't that nice? Now this page recommends a stand-up desk. I despise stand-up desks. I know if they work for you, great. They do not work for me. If I'm standing up, I have ADHD. I just really realized that. My youngest sister kind of pointed out that we probably all do. I have a hard time staying focused, as I'm sure you can probably tell from my videos where I start rambling. That's ADHD in action. That is forgetting what I was just talking about. And y'all see this. You see this because you're watching the video. See, there it goes, ADHD. So if I'm standing up, I'm thinking about 100 other things that I need to do right then. I am not thinking I'm at work. And I don't know if that's because my work has always been at a desk seated, maybe. And it could just be that that's just, you know, what my mind thinks. It's like I talked yesterday about getting dressed all the way to shoes. It's important to me because that's what tells my brain I'm at work. I'm not lounging around, especially if I wear heels, and I love my heels. That's what tells my brain it's time to work. It's not time to worry about whether or not the sink needs to be scrubbed, and it's not time to worry about making up a bed. It's time to focus on work, and that can be difficult enough. So if a standing desk works for you, the best ones I've seen are the ones where you can actually just lift them up if you want to stand for a while, and then you can set them back down if you don't, and your whole computer and everything goes with it. That would be the perfect one. But I would not use a standing desk for myself. I would rather work a couple of hours and go walk around the block. And that seems to work really well for me. Which brings me to the next point, which is not only do you need to have your own space, but just like you would if you were in an office with other people, you need to make sure you're taking breaks. If nothing else, a mental break. I use a tool called Focus Booster, which is a wonderful way of, focus really hard on something for 50 minutes or 20 minutes, and then take a step back for 5 minutes. And then focus again for 20 minutes and take a step back for 5 minutes. And then also make sure that you're taking breaks. Like I said, my favorite kind of break is just to go outside and walk around my block. It takes me about 20 minutes. I like to do that 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. Part of the reason that works so well is that it's great for creativity. It gets you away from the computer screen and away from the immediate problems. I can work all the way to burnout. I can and have worked for 24 hours straight. That's not good for you. And it's not something I want to do again. And if you work at home, it's really easy to just get up and get something else to drink or to get a snack and be lazy. But if you get out and you walk, there's something about the whole process of, it doesn't take a lot of brain power to walk, but especially if you do it outside. Even if you do it outside in the city where it's hot from the asphalt and the fresh air isn't really fresh, it still gets you outside in the sunshine or the rain or whatever. I mean, go in the rain, go in the snow, go for a little walk every couple of hours, at least a 20-minute walk. You will come back to your desk refreshed and ready to work. Now, I really kind of harp on this. My last corporate job was almost 20 years ago, not quite. And it was at a hospital. I worked in patient accounts, which means that I would bill, I specialized in billing Medicare, and then I would bill the secondary insurance for our elderly patients. And I would get in the zone. I would bring in my earbuds or headphones, and I would get in the zone to the point that my colleagues would come and they would have to tap me on the shoulder and get me to go on break with them. And I would, I'd get up and, okay, it's break time. And we would walk across the street. We were in a separate building at the time. We would walk across the street to the hospital and go to the cafeteria and maybe pick up a muffin, or we would go outside and walk around a little bit, and then I'd come back, and whatever it was I was working on seemed so much easier. So even if it was holding with an insurance company, and that is like the worst part of that job, is holding for an hour and a half for an insurance company. If you just go for a walk, I would say go for a walk, 10 or 15 minutes. If you're not sure, if you are saying, I don't have time, set a timer on your phone for like 10 minutes. Go for a walk. When 10 minutes is up, turn around and come back. That's a 20-minute walk. It'll do wonders for your productivity and for your health. I can't stress this enough. I've had gals that were working for me say, I'm sitting around and getting fat. I was like, get out and walk. We live in Utah, one of the most beautiful states in the Union. Get out and walk. This gal lived up by the trails. Set a timer, even if it's just for 15 minutes. Go walk for 15 minutes one way. When your timer goes off, walk back. It never takes me quite as long to walk back. And you're done. And you can do that before you start work, halfway through the morning, at lunchtime, halfway through the afternoon, and when you end work. That's when I would do it. And you will see amazing results in your productivity. It's one of those counterintuitive things. It's kind of like exercise gives you more energy, and you're like, why? Because I'm expending energy exercising, and now I'm tired and sore. It really does give you energy because your body gets used to a certain level of activity, and if you bump that up, then it's got to give you more dopamine and more serotonin and give you all the extras that you need to sustain that extra activity. Anyway, I don't know the exact science behind it, but I do know the science is on my side. Change the scenery. I love my job. This is my favorite place to work, sitting here at this desk. One of the reasons I like it is I have my two great big 24-inch monitors, and I'm looking into a third because I'm turning into a monitor junkie. But there's times when, if I'm doing accounting, this is where I want to be. I want to be right here. I want to be focused on my accounting. It's a lot of repetition. I already know where everything is. But if I'm doing something creative, if I'm trying to write an email, if I'm trying to come up with content for a website, if I'm trying to come up with what I'm going to say in these videos, which I don't really, I usually come up with a subject and leave it at that, I'll go somewhere else. Now, the problem I have, a lot of times I say, go outside, and I go, I don't have a shade. I don't have a shady spot outside. I have a patio the size of a postage stamp that is hot and sunny, and if you've ever tried to work on electronics in a hot, sunny location, it doesn't really work. Sometimes, I've done this, I will go for a hike. I will hike about an hour. Of course, again, I live in Utah. I live right at the foot of the mountains. I have one of the most beautiful trails to go hiking on that are right here at, minutes from my front door. So I'll go out hiking, and I will take my tablet, I will take my phone, and I will take a notebook. And I'll think about a problem that I have while I go hiking. This kind of connects with the go for a walk thing, right? And my current favorite trail is the Horsetail Falls Trail, Dry Creek Canyon. Oh, excuse me. One of my colleagues had allergies so bad that she just could hardly stand it, and now my nose is itching. So I'll go walk at least a mile, at least an hour up. So 2.5 miles up the trail. And I will get somewhere where I'm completely alone, where nobody's demanding my attention. And there's something about being somewhere where I have my phone and I have my tablet, but there's nobody around. There's no city noises. And I am one of those people that I'm just as happy in the country and the city, but I think you need some of both. And it's so quiet and it's so still, and I've just walked for an hour. Sometimes I'll go a lot further. Sometimes I'll get up early and I'll walk till lunchtime. So I'll walk for 4 hours and, uphill. And just find a place where I'm surrounded by nature. And I will find a place where I'm off the trail and nobody's around and, excuse me, and think. And interestingly, when there's no demands, again, I do have ADHD, so that's a problem. It's like I have to wear myself out so I can be still, so I can think. I can then, it's like the answers come. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I'll think about it and think about it and think about it and try not to ruminate. That leads to depression, but I'll think about, how am I going to resolve this problem? I don't have any real problems at all. I have challenges, but I don't believe in having problems, so I don't have them. I will, how do I solve this? There's always a solution, and it's probably not the one that I think might be staring me in the face. And I will just sit in the quiet and listen to the waterfall and the birds sing and write down whatever comes to mind. So it's important to kind of change the scenery. Now, that's what works for me. That's my very favorite scenery change, especially if I want to be outside. Another way is just to go to the library. Go to, if there's a place with nice big plush chairs that you can sit in with a laptop, go there. My local library doesn't really have that, but there are places that do. There's Brigham Young University is just 20 or 30 minutes away from here, and I have been known to take my laptop and go down to the library down there, or go to the student center, or go up to a coffee shop, go to Starbucks, or even just a co-working space where you're kind of away from the normal distractions of being at home. It doesn't mean that you're stuck being in the office. There's actually a lot of co-working spaces where you can rent an office by the day. And so you can call, Regis is one that I think they're nationwide, but it's a co-working space, and you just call them up and say, hey, I want to rent an office where I can be alone for an afternoon. I need it for 4 hours. And you can go in, they'll have a table and a chair all ready for you, and you can go in and just be alone and think and have a very different scenery. And then if things come up like, oh my gosh, I've got to unplug the toilet, you can go, can't do anything about that from here, and move on. But you don't have to be stuck in the office, and you don't have to be stuck at home. That's one of the beauties of this. Embrace your alone time. I get more done in 20 or 30 minutes completely alone than I do all day long when I have colleagues around me. I get more done in a very short period of time. I've had people remark that, in 20 hours I can do a 40-hour job. In fact, when I was talking to my oldest about my sister telling me that, yeah, she thinks I have ADHD, I said, if I can accomplish what I accomplished with this, can you imagine what I can accomplish if I control it? And she went, oh. So, the wonderful thing about working at home is that I'm home. If I do feel like, gosh, the ideas aren't flowing, my mind is kind of stuck, I can turn off the timer and I can go clean house for a little bit. I can go for a walk. I can go for a hike. I can go change things, and I can just embrace the fact that I am here by myself in a quiet space, my own quiet space. And I don't have to drown out colleagues or people working in the office down the hall. I don't have to drown out the maintenance man or the cleaning lady that always comes by and cleans at 6 o'clock, whether we're ready for her or not. I can stop and go, you know what? I need to stretch. And I can get out my yoga mat and I can do some asanas. I can go outside and lay in the grass. Try doing that at your corporate office. They're probably going to look at you funny. But you can do the things that are going to make you more productive that sometimes people don't even think about doing. Habits. We are what we think about, because what we think about we do. And what we do consistently over time becomes a habit, and success is built on small habits. Everything from, I have nice teeth because my parents instilled the habit of brushing my teeth. I look a certain way because I have the habit of putting on moisturizer or sunscreen, as the case may be. I don't know about you, but I have a to-do list that's at least as long as I am tall. Granted, I'm not that tall, but still, 5'3" of a to-do list is a lot of to-dos. And I have to-do lists that I skipped over, and I went to a different program and started using a new to-do list because I was embarrassed because there's so many stuff on the other to-do list that I didn't get to, which is a symptom of ADHD, evidently. When I'm here, it's easy for me to go, well, I need to clean up this space. My dining room table's covered in a computer I've been working on for the past week and some receipts and other stuff. And I need to clean off my desk. And I need to wash the dishes and clean up my son's room while he's gone and vacuum the floor, do the laundry, sweep the backyard, get my oil changed. Oh, wait, no, that's not on my list. Place some online orders. You see where I'm going here? There's a gazillion things that I need to do. The trick to working remotely, I don't have a supervisor leaning over my shoulder saying, Donna, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this. Believe me, I know. And one of the things is because this is easy to do anyway, but since I fit the qualifications for ADHD, if I start looking at Facebook or YouTube, 20 hours later, I'm standing up going, well, I just learned how to talk to a giraffe. It's just easy. It's easy to let the little things that don't matter much stack up and to keep doing those so that the things that are both urgent and important, especially if they're important but they're not urgent yet, they get pushed to the back. So you're spending your time on unimportant make work. I think everybody's kind of gone down that thing of, well, I'm going to look for an image for my video show tonight, and 20 minutes later I'm like, oh, well, the Ferrari looks nice, but that's not what I needed. Every time you think about doing something that's a distraction, write it down and save it for later. I hate to say that I love to-do lists. I have a love-hate relationship with them. But what I like about them is that it gets them out of my head. It gets things out of my brain so that I don't have to think anymore about, I need to get an appointment to get my hair done. I've already got that reminder on my calendar, so I don't have to think about, oh my gosh, is it time? Is there gray there? Is it time for me to? I don't have to worry about it. I know, every 6 weeks I call Shelby, and it's on my calendar. They call it a to-don't list. So Tony Robbins talks about, we all have, if you know what your outcome is, then you know the things that you must do to achieve it. For example, if you want to lose weight, some of the must-dos are you must eat, and it's going to vary from person to person. You must count calories. You must eat fresh fruits and vegetables. You must exercise. And then everyone has their must not things. I must not sit down and eat a whole tub of chocolate frosting in one sitting. I must not eat raw cookie dough. I must not, so one of my friends says his is, he must not drink carbonated drinks. So we have our must-dos and our must-not-dos. And this is kind of the same thing. If I'm focusing on auditing a set of books, I must not get up and do the dishes right then. It's really kind of challenging. I must put my earbuds in so that people don't bother me. We do have, there's all kinds of apps that will allow you to save articles for later, such as Pocket. It's a great one. Or you can just make a list, that I need to go back and read this article. You can bookmark it. There's so many things to do. The next tip is to work in sprints, and that's what I was talking about with Focus Booster. Any kind of Pomodoro timer. If you read David Allen's Getting It Done, he advocates the use of a Pomodoro timer. And Pomodoro is just Italian for tomato, so there's nothing special about that word. But a Pomodoro timer works by Focus Booster is one, tomato timer. If you just Google Pomodoro timer, it'll give you a gazillion hits. But it will time you for 15 to 20 minutes. And during that 15 to 20 minutes, you're supposed to stay very focused on the task at hand. Then it will give you a 5-minute break. And during the 5-minute break, you get up and you walk around. And you do something else that has, it doesn't mean you get to look at another article. You get up and do something else. You load the washing machine. You load the dishwasher. You do something completely unrelated. This actually is named after a kitchen timer that the inventor Francesco Cirillo used to manage his time when he came up with the method. And that was, Fly Lady, if you follow the Fly Lady, she does the same thing. She says you can do anything for 15 minutes. And there are so many ways of doing this. You can do it for 15 minutes and a 5-minute break, 20 minutes and a 5-minute break, 40 minutes and a 10-minute break. But I have found it really useful, especially if it's a crunch time, especially during tax season when I have clients that need their books done yesterday. I can use the Pomodoro technique, and I will work all out for 20 or 25 minutes, and then I will get up and load the washer. And then I can kind of put that on my to-don't list. I don't have to think about it for 2 more cycles because my washer is a 45-minute cycle. And I kind of have the feeling that, it kind of gives me the feeling that I'm getting all this stuff done. Because I am, focusing on work for 20 minutes and taking a break, taking a step back. And then when I come back to focus on work again, I'm a little bit more refreshed. It's still hard for me to keep the distractions down. It's still very easy for me to find myself Googling how to talk to giraffes. But, if I get a distraction during that 20-minute time, I just write it down that I need to do it somewhere else, some other time. Plan ahead. It's not so much that I struggle with this. I am usually pretty good about, because I work in a an industry, I work in a 1-week interval. So my work week runs from Monday to Monday, and I start working on my clients' books on Monday, and if I get done before Monday, then I'm done. Okay, if I get done with them on Wednesday, then I'm done. I don't have to work anymore that week for that client. So I can kind of plan ahead, and I can look and go, I know that I want to go do something with my kids over the weekend, for example. So because of that, I know that I probably need to be done by Thursday. And if I plan for it, I might have to work like a crazy woman Monday through Thursday. But then Friday morning, I can take off and go visit family. You do absolutely have to plan ahead. And here's my challenge. You can't procrastinate. It's just vital. You have to have time to relax. I promise I can talk. I'll kind of give you an example of poor planning gone wild. I'm working, I know someone who, she has a client who calls her, I promise you, every 2 minutes. because he thinks of something that he needs to talk to her about. And then he has her on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes. And she finally goes, okay, thanks, bye. And she hangs up and she goes to do her work again, and he's calling again. And I thought, wouldn't it be so much easier for him, for her, first of all, she has to set the boundaries, to say, look, I have time for you at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I have time for you at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Do not call me other than at those times. I will give you 20 minutes at 9 and 20 minutes at 1. Be prepared with the list, because I don't have time. And she's constantly interrupted, not just by him, but by other people associated with this company. And I thought, you know, just set that boundary. Set that boundary that, look, if something needs to be paid, you send an email to this email address, and if you send it through the chat channel, it will be disregarded. We haven't gotten those boundaries in place yet, but that's really what it takes. It takes a lot of, I have this time available for you. Let's schedule the time. Let's schedule it ahead. Be prepared for the meeting. These are the things I'm going to ask. And you can do it very, very sweetly. I'm very direct, and sometimes that comes back to cause problems. But that's really basically what you're saying. You're saying, let's schedule a time. I have 20 minutes. Would you like morning or afternoon? Please be prepared. These are the things I'm going to ask you. That way, if it's planned, then you don't get caught up in all of these impromptu meetings and your phone blowing up and not being able to work because you're constantly being interrupted. That's why you work from home, folks. So you just plan your day. You plan it. And one of the things that I really like to do is I like to avoid checking my email, and that doesn't mean I don't check it at all. That does mean that I have specific set times when I will respond to emails. 9 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and 4:30 in the afternoon. That's when I respond to emails. If I get emails in between them, and it's urgent, someone better be in the hospital, because I cannot work if I'm constantly having to stop what I'm doing and answer an email. And that sounds kind of mean, but it's actually beneficial both for me, because now I have control of my time, and my clients. Now, if a client calls, I will answer the phone, obviously. But I also have those boundaries of, you know, my office hours are 9 to 5. I might answer the phone a little bit after 5, but no later than 6. Why? Why would I do that to my clients and demand that they stay within my office hours? It's so that I stay sane. I have had clients, and I still have clients, who, if they text or email or chat message me, I don't worry about it. But if they call me after hours, they're going to voicemail. And in any case, if they try to reach out to me after hours, I will respond. I try to respond in a timely manner. I have had one where I really had to think about what I was going to say, and so I let it go an extra day. But that wasn't because I was ignoring him. It was because I wanted to make sure I was saying the right thing, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get impulsive and fire off something that I didn't mean. It's important. I mean, it's important to have those boundaries in place. And the last thing is to create processes. I cannot overstate the importance of this one enough. Create processes. Great businesses are built on process and procedures. They are not built on people. I could bring someone else in here, and I could teach them to do what I do exactly how I do it, if they're open to it. Right? We've hired a lot of people that weren't. If they're open to it, I can take the time and I can teach them to do what I do, how I do it, how I communicate with my clients, how I structure my day, how I set the boundaries, how what's appropriate to talk with a client about and what's not. I can teach them how to duplicate me as far as accounting. I cannot teach them how to duplicate the way I think. I can just teach them how to duplicate the job, because the job is all processes and procedures. It's simple. So if you have processes and procedures, everybody on the team can follow them. And they are usually created by someone who sits down and goes, look, we need to name all the bills exactly the same way every time. So when we search for them, we can find them. Let me make a little document saying, well, this is how we want it done. Before too long, you get everything documented that way. You notice a problem, or the other way to figure out what your processes and procedures should be. One way is to fail. If you fail spectacularly, you will figure out what you did wrong. That's actually how I figured out most of my processes. I would figure out that clients were expecting A and I was performing at B. We would say, catch up is, we can do 1 month of catch up, a calendar month of catch up per week. Well, I would think 1 month of catch up per account per week, because the $20 is based on one checking, one saving, one credit card. We would have a client come in and say, I have 5 credit cards, 3 checking accounts, and 2 savings accounts, and I want you to catch up a calendar month every week. And I would just be like, And then I would have to sit down and explain to the client, exactly what this means, exactly. I don't go as far as saying how much time it takes, because I don't want to be pinned to that time. I want to feel like if I get done sooner, I get a reward of not having to work as much. But if everybody has a protocol to follow, and again, a lot of mine has been from error. I want to say trial and error, but it was mostly error. And I eventually learned how to talk to a client to make sure that they understand, and how to make sure that I can work efficiently and accurately and to the client's expectations. So if you define the processes, you can train anybody to do your job. And if you can define the processes to the point that you can teach a 10-year-old how to do your job, then you've got a good process. If everybody has protocols to follow, then you don't have to follow up, and you can let them be remote. And because you don't need the constant communication. So that's the second half of tips for successful working from home. I use them all the time. And I will be back next week on Monday with a whole new series. So I will talk to you then. Have a great night and happy